Over the last decade, one industry hasn't just grown, it has absolutely exploded, transforming from a pretty niche market into a global juggernaut. So let's dive right in and unpack the story of online gambling's billion-dollar boom.
Okay, let's set the stage. Our story starts back in 2015. The entire global online gambling market was valued at a whopping $37.5 billion. I mean, that's already a huge number, right? But what's really incredible is that it was just a tiny hint of the massive potential that was bubbling right under the surface.
All right, now let's fast forward to 2023. That number, it didn't just grow, it skyrocketed to over $81 billion. We're not talking about some steady, predictable growth here. This is a market that more than doubled its size in less than 8 years. Just think about that for a second.
So that brings us to the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. How on earth did this happen? What were the key ingredients, the big moments, the technologies, and the markets that just lit a fire under this industry?
To really get it, here's how we're going to break it all down. We've seen the billion-dollar boom. Next, we'll dig into the engines of growth that actually powered it. From there, we're going to map out the global game to see where all this action went down. Then we'll meet the modern gambler to understand the who behind these massive numbers. And finally, we'll ask, what's the next big bet for the industry?
Okay, so first up, the what. If you want to understand this explosion, you really have to look at the two sectors that were basically the industry's rocket fuel. And this chart, wow, it really shows you the new pecking order. You know, while online casinos have been growing pretty steadily, it's sports betting that has just completely surged forward. It's now commanding over 40% of the entire market. It has become, without a doubt, the heavyweight champion of the industry.
You know, this quote from our source material just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the energy of this whole period. The industry didn't just kind of adapt to new tech and what people wanted, it actively sprinted ahead, using all that innovation to dream up completely new experiences.
And what's so fascinating is that each of these sectors found its own unique way to win. On one side, you've got online casinos. They got really, really good at making things feel immersive, with live dealer games and features that make playing feel more like a video game. But then on the other side, you've got sports betting, which totally capitalized on the thrill of the moment, with real-time wagering and, this was huge, forging partnerships with major leagues, which built a ton of consumer trust.
So, we've seen what drove the growth. Now let's shift to the where and see how this boom played out on the world stage, creating some new powerhouses and waking up a few sleeping giants along the way.
I mean, just look at these numbers. Europe, which was always the traditional heartland, more than doubled its revenue. That's big. But the real story, the jaw-dropper, is the explosive growth everywhere else. North America didn't just double, it quadrupled its revenue. And the Asia-Pacific region tripled. This wasn't a localized event. This was a global tidal wave.
And nowhere was that more dramatic than in the United States. For years, the market was just stuck, held back by all these legal hurdles. Then, in 2018, everything changed. A Supreme Court decision repealed PASPA. That's the law that had banned sports betting in most states. And that single legal change? It was like opening the floodgates. Investment just poured in, leading to a 250% surge as all the major sports leagues fully embraced it.
Then you have a place like Brazil, a true sleeping giant that awoke with a 500% revenue boom. It was really a perfect storm down there, a massive, mobile-first population combined with an intense cultural passion for football that's just second to none. And now that the country is moving toward a fully regulated market, its potential is truly staggering.
But hey, it's not just about size. Finland's story is incredible, a 1,000% growth rate. This just goes to show you that a smaller but really digitally advanced nation with high internet penetration can become an absolute powerhouse just by focusing on innovation, gamification, and a great user experience. It's a masterclass in leveraging technology.
So this massive growth wasn't just about technology and new laws, it was also about people. So let's shift gears to the who in this story and see how the profile of the average online gambler has been completely transformed.
This one number right here tells a huge part of the story. Back in 2015, only about 10% of the potential market was actually playing online. By 2025, that number is projected to hit 30%. Online gambling has officially gone from a niche hobby to completely mainstream.
So what was the great accelerator? You guessed it, 2020. The global lockdowns forced this massive shift in behavior. With all the physical casinos and betting shops closed, millions of people turned to online platforms for entertainment, and for many of them, that shift became permanent.
It was a catalyst that basically compressed a decade of digital change into a single year.
The key takeaway here is that the audience is now so much broader and more diverse than ever before. The core is still younger, mobile-first players, ages 18 to 34, who grew up with this tech. But we're also seeing a huge increase in the female audience, drawn in by more social and casual games. And even older demographics are getting in on the action with things like online bingo.
All right, we've seen where the industry came from. So for our final section, let's look at where it's going. Where's the next billion-dollar boom set to happen?
In this table right here, it paints a really clear picture of the future. Just look at these growth rates. India at 1,200%, the Philippines at 950%, Kenya at 800%. The common threads are pretty obvious, right? It's massive mobile phone use, favorable government rules, and new, easy payment systems. That's the formula creating explosive growth across Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
The story of online gambling is just such a powerful case study in how technology, regulation, and what people want can all converge to create a truly meteoric rise. And it leaves us with one final thought. As this pace of change just keeps getting faster and faster, what do you think will be the next industry to follow this path and experience its own billion-dollar boom?